Today, we talk about the future of cities in a post COVID world. And to do so, with me today is Professor Richard Florida from the University of Toronto.
I've never seen, and look, I've lived through a lot, economic crises, financial crises, 9/11 terrorist attacks, and more. I've never seen such dystopian takes with regard to cities. Otherwise sensible people saying, this will be the end of cities as we know them. When I went back and looked at the legacy of the Great Plagues in Europe, which killed 40 or 50% of some cities of the people, the cholera epidemics in the United Kingdom, the Great Spanish Flu of 1918, they didn't really dent the trajectory of urbanization. Cities, before we had effective antiviral treatments, before we had any hope of a vaccine, before we even could lock down or socially distance, cities persevered. So I guess I think the future of cities is pretty good. I think they may be reshaped. We can talk about that in some certain ways, as they have been in the past. But urbanization has always been this clustering of people and knowledge and research and innovation in cities has always been a far greater force than pandemic disease.
What are the things that will change in cities or will not change?
So I don't think the crisis, that this COVID-19 crisis, and also the follow-on, the economic, the fiscal fallout, and the political crises, the civic unrest, and the great wave of protest movements that have partly been a result of it. I don't think they're going to disrupt our urban fabric so much as accelerate shifts. It acts as an accelerant on shifts already underway. So I think there's two sets of forces we can think about. The first are pull factors. And those will be factors like remote work, the ability of you and I now to have this conversation working from home. I'm a researcher, so I worked from home a lot because I could always get a lot more work done there. But now I think about 40% of the workforce is working from home. Best estimate we have is about half that many will continue to work from home. So say 20%, but there'll also be push factors. And I think the push factors are going to keep young people. You know, I think what's happened in the face of pandemics before is cities got younger. And I think they're going to get even younger now. If you're a young person graduating Boston University or NYU or University of Toronto or MIT, you're not going to want to go back to your parents' basement, sorry. And you're not going to want to go to a suburb. You're going to want to go to where the action is, the economic action, the economic opportunity, higher wages. So cities, I think, will get younger. Families will go to suburbs, and younger people will head to cities.
How do you think cities have performed in this crisis? What grade would you give them?
Better than most national governments. And if I give the United States national government an F, most US cities have done much better. I would give Toronto a pretty good grade, probably a B. So I think cities have done better than the federal government. Look at New York City. I mean, my God, it was hit with a body blow. And sure, there were errors made, but they were able to get it under control. So I think the point of fact is cities have done better. And if there was one takeaway from this, and I may differ from some, most people have said, well, we need a stronger federal government. Lord God, I think we're just lucky that I don't mean to get too political. I think we're just lucky that our federal government didn't have more power. So I think cities have done better than federal governments, but unfortunately, as an American, I'm amazed, by the way. I don't know about you, but boy, I would have never thought that the United States would flunk this so badly. And especially being up here in Canada, I'm an American. I live in Toronto, but I'm an American. You know, and I just see, it almost is like the whole country is gripped in this dysfunction. And certainly the president has a lot to do with that. But if our cities fail, you know, it's so funny to talk to you about this. I see so many Americans, I hate to say this, but they seem gleeful. Oh, the cities are dying. New York is dying. San Francisco's in the pits. Everyone's going to the suburbs. If New York and San Francisco and Boston die, there goes America. I hate to tell you this. That's the center of innovation, of research, of scientific advance, of attracting global talent. If our cities go, our society goes, our economy goes. So Lord God, you know, I hope when Joe Biden wins in November, I hope he wins, the first thing he does is open our borders to global talent and develop a very nice aid package, a very comprehensive aid package for cities and communities to rebuild.
If you were the mayor of a major metropolis anywhere in the world, how would you prepare for a post-COVID world?
I'll tell you, I've never been happier to not be a mayor or a decision maker. I just think the weight of making decisions, weighing the social and psychological costs, not just the economic costs, the social and psychological costs of a lockdown. against the threat to public health of opening is just, it's just beyond my capacity to make that kind of decision. What I would do is, the only thing I could do is, what I think we need to do more of, I think as we are putting a lot of emphasis on making those life critical decisions, we also need to use people like you and I, university experts, consulting experts, industry experts, to develop long-range recovery plans. I think that that's what we're failing to do. We're so in the moment, and we're so pressured to be in the moment, that we're forgetting that this is going to be a long-term recovery effort, bigger than anything we've seen before. Trying to rebuild cities in a way that emphasizes health, safety, inclusivity, justice, and resilience, that's where I think we have to go, and that's where I think the conversation's been lacking.